Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allison Bonner, and I'm excited to introduce our speaker for this next session. Laura Spencer opened her PR firm in 2013 after spending 5 years as the first executive of the social media department with the Walt Disney Company. In her role with the Walt Disney Company, Laura was responsible for the department's strategic external communications, media relations, as well as the company's inclusion outreach for Disney Studios and Disney Parks projects. Laura's vast experience has included communications in a variety of roles, from crisis communications to product launches. She has worked in industries as varied as defense contracting to famous mouse wrangling. Thank you, Laura, for being here with us today.
Thank you. Oh, there's my clicker. All right, I wasn't expecting claps. That's disturbing. Well, I sat in for the last session, and I've been going through all the programs and everything, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I work for Mickey Mouse. But I think it will make sense in a couple of minutes. That was a lovely bio that I actually wrote, so she read it really well. And and you can't tell, you don't have your glasses on, I look just like Tyra Banks, so, like whatever. So today I'm going to talk about personal branding. And before I get started, I would like to, if I could get 2 or 3 volunteers to tell me why you think personal branding would benefit you. Anybody? Uh-huh. Jeffrey Dahmer's recognizable. Uh-huh. Does it have anything to do with job opportunities? Does it have anything to do with money? All of these good things, right? Okay, so this is why personal branding is, I hope, important to everybody here. So I will start my lovely slides. You can just take out your business cards if you want, or just lay them on the table. But how many, show of hands, have LinkedIn accounts? How many, show of hands, have Twitter accounts? How many, show of hands, have TikTok accounts? This is important because when we're talking about your branding and the people that you want to make money with, or people that you want to get a job from, you want to know the kinds of places that the people you talk to are using. So I think everybody here everybody said they had LinkedIn, right? But how many people check LinkedIn for news? Check LinkedIn for news. Like, did you find out about Boris Johnson today on LinkedIn? Where did you find out about Boris Johnson today? Yeah, Twitter, CNN, like any of these, very robust social media accounts, right? So a lot of times when people think about their branding, they might think, well, I'm in a certain age group, or I'm in a certain demographic that needs to be on LinkedIn. And that may be true, but where you really want to be is where all the people that you talk to live. And most of us live in other places other than LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, but it's not where I go to have a good time. So I think everybody can see that. So if you have mentally taken out your business cards and thought about who you are as a person and what's on your business card, everybody has LinkedIn. The question I want to ask you is, does the name on your business card match what's on LinkedIn? And I do this all the time, and some people will be like, well, my name is, Mary Smith, but everybody calls me Mimi. And so here's a perfect example, and some people will get this if they're, who is this person? He could be known as P. Nelson, he could be known as PR Nelson, he could be known as PRN, he could be known as Mr. P. Rogers, but who was he? And these are the kinds of things that you really want to think about when you're talking about your brand. I'm from Massachusetts, and everybody I grew up with called me Lou, but my real name is Laura. They called me Lou because there were about 7 of us. This is also an age thing. There were about 7 of us named Laura. My real name is Laura Spencer from General Hospital, so we all got nicknames. So, yes, and so my name was Lou all through Massachusetts, and so if you look me up, you'll see articles that I've written, and my name is Lou Spencer. I get here with Mickey, and I sent them my resume with my real name, so in Florida, I am now Laura Spencer. So has anybody guessed who this is? Yeah. That is Prince Rogers Nelson, or as I call him, my second husband. But I think that we all pretty much know that he branded himself. Even when he unbranded himself and just had this thing on his face, everybody knew who he was. You know, I think some of the men in this audience could, if I said Michael Jordan, they're like, oh, Michael Jordan, basketball, maybe sneakers. But if I said to the ladies in the audience, Michael B. Jordan, it's a whole separate situation. You see what I'm saying? So that one letter changed everything for this actor, from a very common name to two very common names that we all know these two people from. So the question is, when you're branding yourself, how are you using your name? And are you really, even something as simple as the font? I know this is kind of crazy, but Mickey Mouse. Everybody knows what the walltography looks like. You see it anywhere, you know that's Mickey Mouse's font. What kind of font do you use in your business cards? What kind of font do you use in your emails? What kind of font do you use in your signature? Lately, everybody's doing now at the end of the signatures, their pronouns, her, they, so on. This is very important because you really want people to look at you and know exactly, this is Laura Spencer. She's not Laura Spencer from General Hospital. She's not married to Prince. This is the person that speaks at conferences. And when you're making, you know, your business cards and your social media accounts, you've got to make sure that all that stuff is very, very precise. The other thing that's good for branding is making money. Now, I think you guys, this is senior living, so you guys are business owners, yes, directors, so you're trying to get heads in beds and that kind of thing. One of the things that can really increase your brand and your profile is content. Everybody knows that content is king now. So what are the major things that people are looking for in your industry? Are they looking for memory care? Are they looking for elder care with mobility issues? And I'm just making this up because I'm not in your industry. But think about the subjects that people want information on. Should you be the information storehouse for that? Should you, if you have a facility that's great in memory care, should you be writing articles about that? Or even if you're not a writer, when you go to LinkedIn and you see somebody else's account, what's the first thing you see that people are doing now? They're sharing information. So I, Laura Spencer, after this conference, I might share an article about senior living to my audience, and that makes me an expert in that industry. And if you guys are doing that, and you want people to keep coming back to your LinkedIn, and I say Twitter because Twitter right now is real world information. You want people to come back to you, Laura Spencer, or somebody give me a name so I don't have to use mine. Brian. Everybody wants to go to Brian for memory care, all right? So, what I would suggest to Brian is do an editorial calendar. It doesn't take that much time to say, you know what, 3 times a month, I'm going to either write an article on memory care, or I'm going to forward an article to my followers on memory care, or I'm going to comment on an article on memory care. And that way you will really get to some traction. A lot of people now are looking at likes and followers and so on. For a professional industry, that's not as important. What you really want to be seen as to be a leader in your industry. Do people come across your articles? Are they talking about you? And this is the new business card. Like I don't have business cards anymore. I will probably connect with you guys via online. This is how people are finding out information about you and your business. All right, so can I have you as a volunteer? Come on up. Real world examples. All right. All right, nice to meet you, Brian. I have a yellow thing on this. This means that I will shake hands and pretend. Okay. This is the new thing. Okay, so Brian, give me your elevator speech. You have approximately 18 words that you can use, and go.
Okay. My name's Brian. I work in senior care, and basically I take care of grandmas and grandpas day in and day out.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Am I free?
You are free to go. All right, so he knew what he was going to talk about. Grandmas and grandpas, and take care of. Those are the words, when you're talking about content and talking about the audiences you're trying to reach, you really want to use like 3 or 4 words, because you think about some of the things people have said now. Defund the police. They're like, well, it doesn't really mean defund the police. But you said exactly what you're doing. You take care of grandma and grandpa. So those are the headlines that I would like to see if you did some social media accounts. Taking care of grandma and grandpa. That simple. I think what we've done in our language is we've made things way too complicated. And in an elevator speech, if I gave you 14 words and you tell me what you do in 14 words, that's what you should be talking about when you're talking about branding yourself. So one more volunteer who wants to do their elevator. Oh, she's looking at you.
My name is Lindsay Taylor, and I work in senior nonprofit for low-income students.
Okay, so senior nonprofit. So that means you help facilitate them getting services from the government?
Yeah, specifically Medicaid for the most part.
Okay, so that is another good example. You really drill down. So I would actually use the term Medicaid. I worked actually years ago, shed in my bio. Years ago, I used to work for an HMO, and we dealt with CMS and all of those wonderful things. So I know what you have to do. But you work with Medicaid, which has to be one of the most complicated things in this world to deal with. So I would talk about Medicaid, helping people get care with Medicaid. Very simple. Don't be afraid to use the term that you're talking about. Because if you said nonprofit or, I think you said nonprofit, it could be a lot of things, but everybody knows you really meant Medicaid, right? So really drill down what you're talking about. Does that make sense? All righty. So, and before I started, the lady said, this is the last presentation before you guys get to have some fun. So, so I'm trying to keep it like short and light and all of that. But I think I've pretty much covered everything, and I just wanted to leave some extra time for questions and if you guys need, because I would do real world kind of feedback on your LinkedIn. So does anybody have any questions? Well, I think, here's the thing though. I don't know if you want to elevate, if you're talking about other employees, you want to elevate your company.
Right, well, put themselves, I guess, in the spotlight on behalf of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one because, and I work for Mickey and I work for some very high profile people. And I think that what people are feeling now, and people are understanding social media, why should I brand myself for you for free? And that's what you're kind of up against. What I think, how I would couch it with my employees is, can we create content that brings us business? Because that is, I think, something that they'll understand, because if you get more business, they get raises, they get to keep their job. But people, I think, now are aware that their personal brand is their personal brand, and they don't want to give it away. So I would just kind of couch it in, yes, but let's talk about content and let's write this. And you know, you don't have to talk about yourself, or you can white paper things. They can be written by an employee, but you know, just disseminated, that kind of thing. But I think people are getting really smart about their own brand and how to use that. Anybody else have any content issues? Anybody else have any like missteps? Because social media now, I think, I was just, while I was waiting for the other speaker, I was looking at Delta Airlines and America Airlines, and they are getting ripped to shreds. Like, if I was on their social media, I would quit. But there are things that come up. For example, in crisis communications, I deal with healthcare companies, and there are things that come up. You have unexpected deaths. You have with COVID. This is like my first time being out, I think, for a conference in 2 years, so I'm very happy. But you have things like COVID that probably hit your industry pretty well, and you are being raked across the coals with the media and social media. You have family members who can get on their Facebook now and trash different facilities, and you have to ask yourself, how do I address that? Do you guys have that issue, and is there somebody in your company that is the person? Because this can make or break you. I just was I'm sorry? Google reviews and Yelp, and people will pounce on things like you wouldn't believe. I just saw, I think it was a couple months ago, there was a healthcare facility and they had a lot of COVID issues, and so they thought the idea was, let's change our name to like Magnolia Blossom. And I'm like, that's not gonna work. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this is really important, just making sure that you guys have the right public face for your industry.
For PR, do you see a better platform, one versus the other, like Facebook, LinkedIn? Do you see a better?
I don't think that they're in this, as you know, she explained, I was the first social media hire for Disney. That was barely 15 years ago. There was no Facebook when I was hired. Do you know what I mean? So 3 years ago, was there even TikTok? You're going to have to stay on top of the trends, and the trends are going to change every 18 months. Yes?
What would you say is the course of action for you to deal with a disgruntled ex-employee who gives a negative review? You're doing the right thing, just the ones, are you supposed to face that head on?
Well, I would backtrack a bit. I think that every organization should have a crisis communication plan, and they should have somebody who's in charge of that. So whoever that person is for your communications department should spearhead that. That being said, there are two types of people that complain. I think we're at the Ritz-Carlton. There are customers who complain that you can recover. You can say, if you go to dinner tonight and it's horrible, and you tell your waiter and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's on us. Okay, I'm going to come back here. But then there are customers, as we see in social media, and this happened before social media, that will just use profanity and, talk about everybody and their cousin. That person, you're probably not going to ever recover, and it doesn't make sense to engage with that person because they're, for lack of a better word, too far gone. So for your example, I would take that complaint to our team and say, what did we do? Could we fix it? Is this a legal issue? All of these questions, hopefully you have, this list of things to ask people. And then after that, not file it away like in the circular file, but just keep that person in mind so that, because, when they say when something happens, it's usually 10 more people it's going to happen to. Keep that in mind and find out where you made your mistake so it doesn't happen again. But it really, I think it's those two things. Are they recoverable or are they too far gone? And you have to make that decision pretty quickly. Yes?
So when it comes to helping define your personal brand, I'll just use myself as an example. I'm kind of in like a jack of all trades kind of background where I was in a restaurant for 12 years and then moved into nonprofit, and I've done a bunch of different things there, and now I'm getting offers for like HR and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay broad and open to other opportunities, but also narrow that down so that you're not playing kind of like the FOMO game of like trying to get hired by everyone?
Well, I think I would, I always say I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but the reality is I'm probably not going to be an astronaut, and I think you really want to narrow down the areas that you want to focus on for your personal brand. So if you know that you want to stay in the nonprofit arena, even if it's food service and nonprofits, it's still in the nonprofit arena. So target, kind of funnel your brand that way. If you want to work completely for profit or whatever, but I think you really want to narrow down what you want to do first before you brand yourself. Because really, you can't, people say, well, my product is for everyone. There really isn't, other than water, a product that is for everyone. even chocolate chip cookies, if that makes any sense, because I saw some out there. So really kind of decide what you want your personal brand to be, where you want to see yourself career-wise in 5 years, and go from there. And that may change. I started with my family business in a hair salon, so, and now I'm in social media, so, I mean, it may change every 10 years, but I would suggest just narrowing it down. Yes?
Content creation that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Becoming a subject matter expert and sharing information subject matter expert, that kind of piece. How do you instill confidence in a voice that maybe has not had the experience to be the subject matter expert? And then how do you assure your audience that you're sharing content that is legit, that is qualified?
And this is not plagiarism at all. I tell people, if you're very nervous about content creation, stay with the industry leaders. And there's nothing, this is not illegal or anything. There's nothing wrong with finding an article on Forbes magazine, written by Elon Musk, and saying, this is a great article about elder care services. And that's all you have to do. So the content is coming from Elon Musk and Forbes, and you're just telling your readers that I find this information really, gravitating, but it's coming from you. Does that make any sense? Exactly. You don't have to be an author or a writer or a publisher. You can just provide a service to people that follow you or people that you're aspiring to get a job with, and forward that information. And you see it all the time. People are forwarding things all the time. And just, like I have a thing about pink high heels. All of my followers know they're going to find something about pink high heels on my, even though I talk about social media, on my website. That's my thing. I'm not writing the articles. I'm just forwarding sales and things in fashion to my readers. And then, yes, you can also then segue, once that person gets more comfortable, creating content later on.
I could also say, like, building a cheerleader squad. Like, I have friends that I know will come and comment on my photos and help kind of elevate it a little bit. And I think that helps build a lot of confidence too. And especially if you're helping somebody playing content. They're like, wow, your book got 100 more views today than last week with the improvement. And really, there's a ton of analytics we can use too to really show what we learned.
Right. And also follow people that you admire, and many times they'll follow you back. I mean, I don't really have that. I'm largely on Twitter, and I'm pretty much a nobody. But I'm amazed at how many famous people follow me and then will chit chat with me. It's kind of scary. So think about the people that you admire in your industry and just follow them. And if you see something that they say that you think is really pithy or informative, let them know, and they'll follow you back, and they may comment with you, and then you'll meet them in a conference. I mean, all of these things now, you can really get on the ground with people that you admire and content that you admire pretty easily. Yes?
When we were talking about building your own personal name, your personal brand, your name is connected with this subject, how do you balance that part of social media with also your mom wants to see your trip to Italy on social media as well?
I don't. I learned pretty quickly to separate the two, because we're not Prince or Michael B. Jordan, and I just realized that I had to have my personal life and my professional life, because the thing is, things can be taken out of context. If, I'm going on a cruise tomorrow, so if I'm, snap a picture with my girlfriend with a margarita, that might be seen in a negative light to, let's say, I want to do a consulting job for a Catholic charity or something. You have to think about that. So I've gotten really very serious about separating the two. And you almost have to treat yourself like you're Prince, like you're a famous person. What happens if this gets out? What happens if somebody, sees this picture? Or what happens if I say, oh, I hate you so much? Like, who's going to see that, later on in life?
Sorry, I have a follow-up question to that. Do you find it's more helpful to do like the same account when you have one that's business and one that's personal, or do you do like two separate emails, two different,
I have,
different things?
yeah, mine are completely separate. I have a business one and then a personal one. So, and I'm sure if somebody did some forensic digging, they would find out that the Laura Spencer that likes pink shoes is also the Laura Spencer in PR, but generally. People don't do that. Well, y'all were easy. Or just trying to go drink? Is that what's happening? Yes. Well, I will stick around for a few minutes after, and thank you so much. And thank you for being my first post-COVID thing. I appreciate it.